welcome again to everyone joining this webinar for the Master's Program Infection and Immunity at Utrecht University. My name is Christine Denzer, and this is...
My name is Eva Struijf.
And for this webinar, we are gathered here and with you, are connected with you throughout the world by the chat opportunity. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat box. And we will answer them as soon as possible, or we will answer them already during our talk. So please feel free and make really use of that opportunity. As I said, I'm the program coordinator. I'm also a staff member at the University Medical Center in Utrecht, and I have a teaching position there, and I've been coordinating this program now for over 15 years, and it's really a joy to coach the new students. And then we have Eva.
Yeah, so my name is Eva. I am currently a PhD student. I graduated from the Master I&I 2 years ago, so that's still quite fresh for me. And now I'm working as a PhD student in the lab that I also did my internship in during the Master. So I'm still quite connected to Utrecht and UMC Utrecht, and also the Master's program.
Yeah. And in the background, we have also Marijn Kleiweg, and she will coordinate also the questions. So why would you like to do a master in the field of I&I? We think it's really interesting because we're really we're living in a time where we can connect our knowledge, basic knowledge about infection and immunity, to clinical challenges like the immunotherapy, for which the Nobel Prize was awarded in 2018, about the checkpoint inhibitors, or about antibiotic resistance. The research topics you can think about, and research topics that research is going on in Utrecht, is about chronic inflammation, and that's a wide range of organs which might be involved, as well as in autoimmunity. Tumor immunology is really strong, as we have also now the National Center for Pediatric Oncology right next door. Stem cell transplantation is also important, especially in pediatric cancers. Vaccine development is important, and bacterial viral immune evasion is a strong point here in Utrecht, as is antibiotic resistance and One Health, because we have the only veterinary faculty of the Netherlands right next door. So this master program is within the biomedical master's program. It's taught in English, it's 2 years, it's full-time, and the start is in September, so first full week of September, and we start with 30 students per year. And I know that's always a question that's coming up, how many students do apply? Last year we had 120 students applying. Then why would you like to do the Master I&I in Utrecht? Because there are other universities offering similar masters. I think the strong point in Utrecht is that we study both sides of the coin, so infection and immunity. And we study the pathogen and the immune response against it. And that has been the research focus at Utrecht University for more than 30 years. So this is really what we are good at.
Yes, and not only because we study both sides of the coin, we also have many professors involved in this master program, and they are all experts in their field. The program coordinator is Jos van Strijp, and he has director. Sorry, you're the coordinator. The director, he has a really big lab with a lot of studies. Well, immune evasion of bacteria. Bacteria is a really big thing he's working on, but we have many more renowned professors. For example, Linde Meijaard, Suzanne Royakkers, Jos van Putten, from many different fields, studying different things, and they are the teachers of the program, but they are also the ones that can guide you with your internships.
Yeah, so all those professors are not only working at Utrecht University. So most of them do within the Graduate School of Life Sciences. That's the umbrella over the University Medical Center in Utrecht, the veterinary faculty and the natural sciences, so biology and chemistry. That's all within walking distance on the same campus. And on the same campus, we have also other institutes from outside university, like the Westerdijk Fungal Biodiversity Institute or the Utrecht Institute, which focuses on developmental biology. I mentioned already the Princess Maxima Center. And we have also biotech companies like GenMap, who are producing monoclonal antibodies for immunotherapy. And a short bike ride away is the National Institute of Health, Public Health and the Environment. And they are doing a lot of research on vaccine development. Next to that, we are an international program. And you see Sveta here, who came from Bulgaria and is now doing her PhD in Amsterdam. Last year, we accepted 7 students out of our 30 into the program. And those students came from the US, from India, from the UK, from Romania, from Spain. So quite diverse. And I really like the interaction of these different, on the energy that those students bring.
Yes, and the master is really a combination of research and courses. So in the beginning, you will have multiple courses. And I think the larger part of the master's is the research doing yourself. So in the lab, getting the real experience. And this combination of doing a lot of research, but also having really good courses is a strong combination.
And so the general program outline consists of 2 large research internships of 9 months and 6 months. So 9 months is 51 EC, 6 months 33. We have 10 weeks or 15 EC of mandatory theoretical courses, and we'll come to the details of that in a minute. We have an elective component where you can choose courses where you think, I'd like to know more about, for example, about bioinformatics, or I want to work with lab animals, so I need the lab animal science course. So this is really something where you can work on your skills as well. And then we have the writing assignment, which is either a literature review or a grant application, and that's about 5 weeks. We have also an overarching activity called the Life Science Academy, which consists of monthly seminars and of a series of workshops called Navigation Towards Personal Excellence, in which we make students aware of what they want to learn and how they can really create their own program. Plön is asking whether, is asking the following: do you have to have extensive lab experience before entering this bachelor? We know that there are different bachelors with different amount of lab experience, and even though it's good to have some, it's not an obstacle if you don't. So you should have some experience, but that's not an obstacle if you haven't.
I think maybe it's nice to, for example, explain what I did in the different components. So for the major research project, I was working in the field of infection biology. For the minor research project, I was working in the field of immunology. I did a writing assignment about tumor immunology. And for my elective component, I wrote a grant application. So you can see already here a bit that you use a different components, you use a different sides of the infection and immunity. But you can orchestrate this yourself. If you like to do more work on the infection side or the immunity side, you choose your major project in this side of the field, and you can really direct this yourself.
Yeah, though it's important that you have 2 larger components, one in the infection side and one in the immunity side. So If you are only interested in virology and do not want to study any T-cell responses or sudden likes, then this is not the right program. So it's really, if you're interested in the interaction between both sides, then this is really, well, what we do. And I think it's fair to say that the profile of this program is really molecular cell biology. It's less epidemiology. You could do an elective, you could do also your minor research in that direction, but also the theoretical courses have a strong molecular cell biology profile. And the theoretical courses are as follows. We start, or all Graduate School of Life Science students start with 1 week of Introduction to Life Sciences. That's before we start with our theoretical courses, which are clinical immunology, bacterial pathogenesis, and virology, which means that every student enters the lab with knowledge about clinical or immunology, bacterial pathogenesis, and virology. Or then you start your 9-month internship. That's at least the standard program. And towards the end of your major, you interrupt your major for a 3 weeks course of signaling and techniques in I&I. And maybe you want to comment on that one.
Because I think this is really the best course in this master. At this point in the first courses, you are just absorbing information and learning a lot of theories. And after your larger part of the internship, you do the signaling and techniques course. And then you have so many practical knowledge and skills that you listen to this information in quite a different way, in a different perspective. And you have a really dynamic discussion with experience of people. And I think this is really the course what brings all things together. So not only the theory, but also the practical skills. It combines it all together. And it's really, I think, the best course of the entire master.
Yeah, and it's just because you are all kind of experts in your own right after 6-7 months of lab work. If you haven't done so in the first year, you do also another course about vaccines. And to complete the theoretical courses, we have the I&I Master Symposium, which is organized by students for students. And that's including a poster presentation of all second years about their first year's project. And that, we'll come to that a little later, but before we do.
Yes, because Utrecht is not only a good place to study, it's also a really nice city to live in and to, enjoy your time with friends, for example. We have a beautiful city center with the Dom as being, I think, the most attractive part of the city, but also the Oude Gracht, which is the canal of Utrecht, is a really nice place where you can have lovely dinners, and there are nice small shops, but also the bigger shops are there. It's a really an energetic city center where you can do a lot of stuff. But not only the city center is really nice, also the campus where the university is located is really nice. It is a bit out of the city center, but that makes it a really spacious place where there are a lot of buildings for the university, but also the medical center is there, the veterinary department is there, different companies, biotech companies, and also the institutes are all located in one place. So collaboration is really easy physically as well. You can just go from one lab to the other to combine things or to learn from each other. So that's a really nice benefit of the Utrecht Science Park. And also if you want the real student life, there are many study associations and student associations that you can join. Mebios is the study association of our masters, and they organize a lot of activities. They organize drinks, but also lectures from nice speakers or game nights. They do all kinds of things where you can meet new people, do fun things, but also learn things.
Also career events.
Career events is a really big thing. So if you are almost at the end of your master's and you have to think what you will do next, they can help you. They have a lot of experience in that as well. But you can also go to a student association, for example, a sports association where you can play soccer or handball or whatever you would like. But also AJ, for example, a really big student association, and IFMSA, which is also international. In all kinds of fields. There's only 3 examples, but there are many more student associations in Utrecht, which you can join, of course. So for me personally, why did I do my master's here in Utrecht? Well, I did my bachelor in Amsterdam, and at that point I thought it was time to change. I felt I was, I wanted to have a new environment. I wanted new students around me, new lecturers, and new topics. Because in Amsterdam, I've heard the most prominent researchers doing their talks, and I wanted to learn new topics and meet new people. And one of the real big benefits that I thought of this master was that it's really a close community, because you start with around 30 students each year. The interactions between students is really close. You really get to know each other, and you form a group of students that will stay in your network forever. But also the interaction between students and lecturers is really easy, because you are only with 30. They really get to know you as a person, and also with the staff. So if you have a problem, if there is something you need to work on, or if you have a really great idea and you want to, get it into action, then it's easy to talk with the staff, because they know you as well, because it's a small master's. And that's really one of the things that I thought Utrecht is the place to go for me. So what are my experience afterwards? Well, to start with the upsides, I found that this master gave me a lot of guiding. To talk with Christine, for example, what should I do next? How can I combine this? Or what is an interesting field to go to? But I also got a lot of practical experience, because you do this 1.5 year of practical internships in total. You really get to learn how to work in the lab, and you will screw up many things, but that's what will make you learn even more. So you have plenty of time to really get experience in things. And you are really taught by the experts of the field. And that's something I realize now more than I did when I was a student. But it's really the professors that are the leaders in the field, that are teaching you the newest things in science. And they're not only from inside Utrecht, but also professors from outside of Utrecht will teach you the newest of the newest. And the students, what I find really nice, that you have so much interaction with your fellow students. Now, even 2 years later, we still meet, I think, every 3 months to just inform each other, how are you doing, and have a drink and have some fun. So that's really a big upside. What was a downside for me, the room availability in Utrecht is not really good. I would say it's quite difficult to find a room here. But once you have a room, that's out of the way. And it might be that there is some information about the room availability and how to get a room as an international. I think it's on the website of the UU. And maybe Maureen can put this in the chat box to inform us all about that. And what I think, what could be a downside, but is also an upside, is that you have to do both your internships in the field of infection and immunity. And at first I thought that maybe that this is a downside, because I thought, infection biology, that's what I like most, so I want to do everything in that field. But then the master forced me to also go to look at the immunology side, and actually by doing the real research there, I got to know that I also like that part a lot, and that it's really the interaction that attracts me. So it's a downside at first, but I think in the end it was also an upside to really get forced to both sides.
Yeah, and maybe because we have a question from Lieke about, can you tell us more about the electives? Can you tell Lieke what you did, and then I can add some other information?
Yeah, so for the elective, I was writing a grant proposal, because after my master's, I was asked to join the lab that I was doing my internship, but there was still no money yet. So we needed to write a grant to get the money to fund my PhD project. And I was asked to help writing this grant. So that's what I did for my elective. I used a few points to do this writing process. So really diverse, not something that many people do, but it could be anything almost.
Yeah, so the idea is that there's a whole list on the Graduate School of Life Science on the Study Life Sciences, Study Guide Life Sciences.nl side. You might want to go there. So Study Guide Life Sciences.nl. And there under courses, you see generic courses. And that's a whole long list, which you can do like academic English or biostatistics, or you want to know more, as I mentioned earlier, the lab animal sciences. But also you could follow, for example, a course in Essentials of Neuroscience. So almost all the different master programs offered at the university offering courses for students which are not in their program. So as an I&I program, we're also giving an elective course for other life science students. But apart from those courses, you can come up with any good plan. Do an internship at a museum.
And I think also what quite a lot of people do is they extend one of the internships, because most often people go for their minor internship abroad, and sometimes it's easier to plan to have a bit longer your internship abroad. But it's really important then that you learn something new in this extension. So, for example, that you learn another technique which you haven't learned yet in the first 5 months or 6 months. So the options are really, you can do anything. Oh, no, not anything, but a lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
Kaylin is asking how many electives may we take. It depends on the not so much the number as the number of EC. So we have 12 EC, 8 weeks of electives. So that would be the standard program. But up to now, it's not a problem if you find an extra course that you can do that as well. And we've seen that Tessa has also asked about admissions from applied sciences, and I'd like to postpone the answer of this question to a little later stage and give the word back to Eva.
Yes, to finish this slide, some tips and tricks that are useful to become successful. I think it's really important to build a network, and this is really a good master to do so. You meet a lot of people, and it's easy to communicate with them. So building a network is crucial, I would say. And don't be afraid to show your ambition. Show what you want, and you can, fight for it, work for it. But also don't be afraid to make mistakes and ask a lot, because I think it's the mistakes you learn most from. So that are my tips and tricks for you to become a successful researcher. So what does a typical day of an I&I student look like? Well, it really depends on the part of your study you are in at that point. If you have a course, well, of course, then you have lectures or tutorials, group projects, self-study, and you can have an exam in the end. If you're doing your internship, it can either be preparing protocols, performing the experiments, analyzing your data, work on your lab journal, journal club, write a report. It depends a bit on the day of the week you are. Mm-hmm. And for writing the assignment.
Maybe before that, Matthew has a question about the internship. Can the internship also be done at associate institutes, for example, the UMC Utrecht? Yes, definitely. So for the first one, the 9-month internship, the major, this you need to do in Utrecht, but often at associated institutes, even at the National Institute of Public Health, we have group leaders who are also associated with the University of Utrecht and can therefore be your examiner. So yes, you can do your internship also at associated institutes. That's for the 9-month with which you would start. For the 6th month, you have more freedom. So you can also do it elsewhere in the Netherlands or abroad. So if you have done the 9 months here, this is kind of your ticket also to broaden your network.
Yes. So what does a typical week look like? Well, this depends also a bit on the timing where you are in your masters. But for example, when you're doing your internship, a week could look like the following scheme. You could, for example, have a journal club, a meeting with your supervisors, prepare your protocols, do experiments. This is just an example of what a week of mine looked like, but it can be anything. And as you can see, there's time in the evening to do some sports and to have a social life afterwards.
And not to forget the Friday evening drinks.
Yes, or the Thursday evening drinks. But there is time for social life. What you can see also here in this schedule is that there's, for example, in the weekend, it says cell culture. This doesn't mean that you have to be in the lab every weekend. It depends a bit on the study you are doing. It could be that there are some times where you have to come back in the weekend, but it doesn't really happen often. and it's not that we are supposed to be there every weekend, or
you're not obliged to do it, but sometimes it's your own project. So if you want to do an experiment on Monday, then sometimes it's just easier to plate your cells on Sunday and then do the experiment already on Monday instead of Tuesday. So just winning a whole day.
Okay. Well, we already said that there is this Master Symposium, which is organized by students and for students. And in this symposium, it's a really nice time to, after a whole year of work, to show to your fellow students what you have done, what you have obtained on all the data, and to combine all these 9 months of doing experiments almost every day to one poster. Could be a challenge, but it's also really nice to really make it into a story and to tell the others. And it's not only a poster prize, also an abstract competition, I would say, and the best abstracts can present their data in a larger presentation. So it's really like a real conference, but then with your fellow students.
Yeah, and it's organized by the people who we just had the Master Symposium just last week, and now the first years are forming a group who is going to organize next year's Master Symposium. This year we had 4 international speakers joining with really fantastic talks. It is just amazing what the students organize and how they make sure that it's not 8 hours pure science, but that you have some career workshops, inviting alumni back. And this year they even had a body language workshop in between to just get some physical activity in there as well. So it's really fantastic to see that and to see this interaction. So Eva already mentioned that the community within I&I is really strong, and we think it's really important to start your network there. But I&I is only one of several programs within the Graduate School of Life Science. And this is also another level of community, and the students are represented by the life science representatives, which you can see here are on this photo. And they report, for example, back to the educational committee, and they can really forward information, gather information from more students. So we really value the feedback of students, and it's really great to see the level of constructive feedback from the students, which really helps us to make our programs even better. We've talked about career perspectives already, and Eva is doing a PhD, and actually a lot of students from our program do that. We have like 75% roughly who choose that career path directly after the master's. Some people go to governmental institutions, some join the biotech industry, some want to continue on the level of a technician. We have one, for example, one graduate of last year who is the coordinator of all fax machines at Leiden University now. So really a responsible position. And I think the 1-year research visa, which you see in the lower right corner, is very important for international students as some piece of information that you can stay here after the graduation and try to find a position here as well. And then the admission part. So Tessa, we're coming closer to the answer to your question. So what are the requirements? Bachelor of Science in Biomedical Sciences or an equivalent with a strong emphasis on molecular cell biology. Plus, you should have 15 ECTS, or in other words, 10 weeks in total, full-time, in the field of infection and immunology. And there should be at least a bit from both. So not only immunology or only microbiology. From what are the chances, Tessa asks about a graduated student of applied sciences to be admitted to the master. we accept really the top students from those universities of applied sciences. This year we have, or the now first year, we couldn't accept any, unfortunately. The year before we had 2. So I think on average it's 1 or 2 per year. That hopefully answers your question. It might not be the answer you wanted, but I think it's an honest answer. So the admission, the deadline for the early birds is really coming up, because that's on this Sunday already. So if you want to need to apply because of scholarships, please do upload all the documents before the deadline. Have the academic transcript as complete as possible, so not an old transcript, and avoid copy and paste from other applications in your motivation letter or in your, so that's really annoying if we see that you're addressing another master program, which we see quite regularly.
I think this links directly a bit to Regina's question about the selection to get an INI. What entrance requirements are the most important, and what are do's and don'ts? Well, don't is to apply for the wrong master, I would say. And I think an important do is show your enthusiasm in your letter, and really show why you are good for this master and why you should be the one that's selected. And the first part was the requirement. So I think we just discussed that it should be at least 10 weeks full times in the microbiology and the
and
immunology part. And that you can show that with your grade list.
Yeah, and that can be obviously more. And we know that there are different universities who have different amounts of ECs on different courses. If you do an internship or a bachelor thesis in the field of INI, that's also not something which would be an obstacle in contrast. But I'd like to emphasize that the deadline of the 1st of December is only for the students outside the EU. That's really important. So the deadline for all other students is, and here's an error in this slide. So this slide, which says the deadline is the 1st of April 2020, this should not say early bird or students outside. This is for the general application. And so everyone who's applying after the 1st of December up to the 1st of April will be on the large pile. So we will collect all the applications until then, because only then can we really compare those. So we will not give you an answer within 10 days. I don't know why this is going forward. We really would like to stress that we'd like to have, for example, your academic transcript as complete as possible. So don't send your transcript in with the documentation just until December of this year, but it would be good to have them, the documentation until the half March of next year, or at least the beginning of March. So that's quite important for us to have this opportunity.
Yes, I think we can now answer a question of Tessa. Are there possibilities to increase the chance of admission? Let's give this one to you.
Yeah, I mean, anything that shows that you have a real passion for science, and especially in the field of INI. And there are lots of ways to show that, but I'm not giving you a checklist now, or you can probably understand why I don't do that. But those are everything that shows that interest. But also, I mean, we have people who go on a gap year in between, and also in a gap year, you can learn a lot of things. For example, about yourself, and that reflection on this personal growth is also an important measure. So what's the admission process? It's ranking according to the documents. And approximately the top 60 are invited for an interview, which might be either face-to-face or Skype. The interview takes roughly 30 minutes. After the ranking, we have a top 30, which are accepted or conditionally accepted. What does that mean, conditionally accepted? If you're now in your third year of your bachelor, you will not have a diploma the moment you apply. So you would get a letter of conditionally acceptance, and when you've got your diploma, you can exchange that then. Next to the top 30, we also have a waiting list of about 15, because we know that some students will not manage to find the funds they need to come. So we have a quite large waiting list, and from experience, we know that this is around the right number to have on there. And we also report frequently back on changes on this waiting list. So if you are moving from position 10 to position 6, you will get the news about that. So we keep you posted because we know you want to know. That was what we had prepared. And of course, if you have any more questions, please let us know. And Celine is just coming in for us with the question, is there also a possibility to increase your skills in dry lab work, or is it all wet lab work? We have also quite some experts in the field of bioinformatics or mathematic modeling. That's what I would call dry lab work. I don't know whether you're referring to that, but we have that definitely.
Yeah.
And of course, this is getting more and more important. So I think both of our departments have their bioinformatics experts. So that's really important. Rania asking, are students with a Bachelor in Health Sciences accepted in the I&I Master's program? That's very much dependent on your total package. And we have to say that in comparison, usually the biomedical students or students of molecular life sciences have a stronger molecular cell biology profile. And this is a better match, but it's depending on whether you've done a minor in biomedical sciences, for example. So that would increase your chances. And Kaylin is asking, if we haven't taken microbiology, should this be supplemented as a summer school course? If you can do that, definitely a good idea. So yes, good idea. Then
Mary, what are you looking for with a detailed description of relevant coursework? For example, what info about the specific courses would you like? I think you can answer this
I think
best.
that's one for me. So we're looking for specific information like which book did you use and what were the learning objectives. And just as a kind of list of keywords, what was the form? So is that writing a grant application? Is that practical work? And if you have a percentage, that helps. But that does not need to be pages after pages. So if you have maximum 1 A4 per course, that's fine. And usually you can just copy paste that from your study side, because that's your course description you find there. So there's not much more needed than that. Yeah.
We think we can answer the question of Mary. Do you admit many international students each year? So you said last year it was around 7 international students.
Yeah.
Is that always the same each year?
It's not always the same. So it's between 3 and 7, with leaning more towards 5, 6.
Yeah. Let's see if there's another question. Oh, Anna asks a nice question. Does every student follow the same path, or do you choose a kind of major or sub-path within the study? It's the latter. So you can design your own study the way you like. There is, I think, the most common design which most students do. But if you say no, I would like to do first my writing assignment, then do an internship, and then do another elective. You can design the order yourself, and you can also decide yourself in what part you would do in what field. So you can make a combination of different things. So I think it's really tailor-made. You can design your own masters, but of course you have to discuss this with Christine if it is if it contains all components that are required. But there are a lot of options there. Yeah.
Yeah. And there was a follow-up question there. Is it possible to do this master's in 3 years instead of 2? Yes, if you're prepared to pay more, because I mean you have 1 extra year of tuition fee, you can do that, but be aware that you have full-time internships. So the 9-month internship is not something that you can spread out like to 14 months. So that's just not working. So it's designed as a full-time master. Yvonne is asking, do you have any tips for us for the interview? Be honest.
And be yourself.
And be yourself. That's really the important one.
I think one of the things is nice to know, because that I didn't know upfront, but the interview is in English.
Yeah.
So that's something you can prepare of, so that you know that you will do the interview in English. And just make sure that you have kind of a list in your head of what are the things that I really like, what I'm good at, what are things that I want to learn, and how this fit together. So that's something you could prepare for, I think.
Yeah. So we have one last question from Selina. If you're a student of a Dutch University of Applied Sciences, but have successfully completed a university minor biosciences, does that increase your chances of being selected? Yes, you increase your chances, because you give us a measure of comparing you directly with other university students. So we hope that we've given you the information needed. Obviously, you can continue for a couple of minutes in the chat box, and Marin will answer there. So we can say goodbye now from Utrecht, and maybe we'll meet some of you in the interviews. So thank you for your interest, and goodbye from the Netherlands.